time. And changed the entire world forever. All over. Now, Aristotle, you see, I think a very wise and mind Aristotle, well, our virtues. But if you follow virtue, you need to understand more the golden meaning. Courage is the virtue. But anyway, the Greeks, if virtue is your core value, you're going to do a lot of heavy thinking on how to maintain a virtuous state. Recklessness is the one is the deficit. Cowardice is the excess. Temperance, too sensitive to incision, to pleasure and pain. Proper pride. I like that, proper pride. Because we always say pride is bad news. But there's proper pride, according to the Greek thinking. Vanity on one side, false humility on the other. I can't read Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas asked a question. He wrote 500 books with a quill. He asked a question, a simple question. He's going to spend 3 or 4 pages answering the question with every possible option. But Thomas Aquinas tells us that there is 3 virtues that probably don't exist between a golden mean. And that's faith, hope, and love. And is this unique logic to the Greeks? No. Look at Confucius. Avoid extremes. Now, for Fritzon, Remedies, in these last days, he conceived that the mystery of moral evil and of folly could no longer be explained by an external cause, the Bible as it is by its founder. Men and women have to confront it as part of their beauty. Can you hang on to that? Can you understand that? Because what happened is Jesus taught the same thing I had 500 years later. This is what Jesus taught. He's taught in parables because we can learn differently, usually better. This is why all the business people tell us now, teach you and motivate you with stories. We can listen to a story. We don't like rules. Jesus taught the parable of the sower. The landowner came out, and there's weeds growing. And all the servants said, we planted good seeds. This is what happens. There's weeds mixed in with it. So what should we tear out the weeds? No, we don't tear out the weeds. They need to grow together. And we'll separate the two apart. What does it mean by that? What we have traditionally thought that might mean when we were little kids is that there's good people and there's bad people. That's not quite true. It is true to a degree. Can you hang on to this thought? We'll come back to Plato in just a minute. Now let's jump to business. Here is it. I keep finding my book on this guy, but if you've ever had a hard, difficult interview, I can't imagine being interviewed by this guy. He read Powers Clause. He's the founder of that. Founders learn different things. And, Jack Welch comes into GE. That's different when you learn it. When you start from scratch, you learn different things. Everyone has been a rule, a broken rule at one time or another. What was one of your recent transgressions? And what did you learn from it? Would you like to answer that now? You have to answer honestly. Because I never broke a rule in or out of there already. Are all rules valid? All rules are conditional. We can't write a perfect rule. That's not so hard. Would you like to be asked that in an interview? If you felt a rule was unfair, what would you do about it? Have you ever broken a rule to satisfy a customer? It's so high. When I was in NASA in alongside support office, I broke rules. We have a rule. It's a good rule. The technicians can only work 12 hours a day. Why? Because if you work long hours, you have more human error options. So, as LS says, now we can be really welcome. So what do? I work 12 hours. Now, to compound my sins, do I donate that to the government? No. What we typically do, we keep a piece of paper, plus and minus. Okay, I worked 3 extra hours this week beyond the maximum. Then another week that you work less, you fed that in there. So now I'm making 2 rules. Am I breaking rules? Yes. Am I satisfied with the customer? Yes. Why? Either you both are right and both are wrong. It depends on what manager you got. Which is more important, customer service or making a profit? Why? Has anybody ever been asked a rule, a question in an interview, anything close to this? None of them. You should, every one of you need to take this list. When you are interviewing people, you got to start asking these kind of questions. I think in business, when you start from scratch and you're looking for certain types of people, you think about these things a little more than we do. There's a supporting point by the writers of The Art of Japanese Management. Ask yourself, how often are rooted integrity and explicit Folks, and most of this stuff, not all of it, has been covered. But only Daniel Pink put it into right words, collected it together to make such an impact. He's been giving speeches about it ever since. Often rewards inflict collateral damage. They can give us more of what we want. More. When I was a kid, I retired. Well, we had one office that had a reward. The people that were rewarded in that office did the contract. The employees were the most gigs, got the biggest proportion of rewards. What did they happen? I was driveway from a landing, and I had a person not in that office, but he was a relevant system citizen. He was my safety kind of department. I asked, what would you do if your customer says we're going to gig the contract? He will hire you. Well, of course you're going to hire. Well, the same NASA managers are complaining in bigger meetings that the customer is not cooperating. Oh my goodness, you've set up a system to divide non-cooperation into a reward system. You've got to think about it. Every time you give a reward, everything is going to be a shadow side. Think, what is the shadow side? You think at least like that. We cannot say that in system safety. We are your pessimists of the program. We have to actually find the shadow sides of things and then submit that to a program in a way not to dampen the enthusiasm of the team. Can you see how we're exposed to it? We're all succeed with that. It's not easy. So if someone's baseline rewards aren't adequate or equitable, her focus will be on unfairness of her situation and anxiety of her circumstance. Guess what? This is unbelievable. Fairness trumps all ethics. When people think, I deserve the promotion, I deserve this, look at the rewards lying with only a third of the reward, I've got all this stuff that I feel, and they're ignoring it. Fairness trumps ethics. You will invite an unethical thing. This is the types of external rewards, according to Daniel Pink. Intrinsic rewards is that warm, glowing feeling when you're in a job as a calling. When you have a calling, like now, when I'm up here talking, I spiral up. I can't even talk to you over. I can't think. I spiral up with energy. If you're in a calling field, you will feel these things. This is intrinsic reward I'm getting right now. I can read your faces. I'm happy about this. Carrots and sticks, the previous types of rewards, encourages cheating, shortcuts, and unethical behavior. You've got to watch these things. These are the dollar rewards. One of the rewards is the activity itself. Deeply learning, delighting customers, doing one's best. There are no shortcuts. The only route to the destination is the highway. In some sense, it's impossible to act unethically because that in person whose disadvantage isn't the competitor but yourself. Rehnquist, the Supreme Court Justice, although they're all lawyers, he points out an implication in the big law firms. They bill the new doctors out of college are expected to bill gross numbers of hours. And the billing is every 7 minutes. What do you do when you're called on for 2-hour meetings? 3 or 4, 4. Where did that billing go? That types of things. It's not to a customer, but they translate it to a customer. Is that ethical? Of course not. What they invited you is what they do business. Doing off billing and demanding these kids bill so many hours in a year. Now, the chart, if you look, I'm going to look mainly at the center of the chart. These things lead up to and support the center. But Peter Drucker's first job was with Albert Sloan. He was the famous GE and General Motor, GM, that made it as big and as good as it was at that time. When Drucker showed up at Sloan's office, Sloan said, first, tell me what is right. I want to know what is right first. You understand what he's doing? The right is what's morally right. Then from that knowledge of what's right, then we can make compromises to make the decision work. If he had to infringe on ethics, he wants to first know what is right. This is really incredible. Drucker never forgot that lesson. That's a lesson for us to know too. If we can think first what is right, then move forward. Then we avoid some of the pitfalls that we're going to see at the end of this presentation. And at least we've got examples of Motorola now. All that is a space for the current industry practice of completely misrepresenting a company, science or health. He was trying to tell the truth, because it's the right thing to do. Most of our companies, with only a few exceptions like this, they misrepresent themselves in stock markets. They're supposed to have pressure to show quarterly improvement. Without that pressure, the CEO is fired. That's simple. Vision is a big thing. We have visions, but what we have to do, we don't think about even the vision sometimes. If the edges of the vision, that's our boundaries, are blurred, you don't know what the risk is in pursuit of vision as opposed to risk for risk's sake. That's according to Tom Peters. Some of you read Tom Peters. He's a passionate writer. You can feel him in the words that they write there. Yes, and we go to now Tom Collins in his his second book. Yes, leadership is about vision, but leadership is equally about creating a climate where the truth is heard and brutal facts confronted. There is a huge difference between the opportunity to have your say and the opportunity to be heard. After the Columbia was happening, I was in a meeting with people that I thought one of the bosses there, the man presiding over the meeting, he went around the room and he asked everybody, this is not the challenge. Remember Challenger World? If you found out later that so many people disagreed with the launch, but no one voiced their opinion, you get in these pressure situations, and the guys from Utah were so vocal. What do you think you have nothing you need to add? You should say anything. They found so many people were against the launch challenge. Same thing right here. And then Thoreau always nails things on the head. Here, there are 1,000 hacking the branches of evil to one who is striking the root. So few of the things that we see actually refer to evil. We'll come back to that. Part of our business ethics is dealing with international. What we're doing, we got a totalitarian society. We sit over here and we think about these things. Regulations, variations from companies now are worldwide. And when we have environmental losses in sweatshops, there is an area from pollution. What used to be that nice river between Siberia and China, now everything's dead. There is an area in the Pacific Ocean the size of Texas with trash floating around it. So it comes in a big circle. So they're going to just throw all those, you've got to get rid of the trash, throw it in the river. Then it's gone. It's outside. Corruption, we have foreign practices that keeps, when we think keeps us straight, we have rules in place. But if you're comparing worldwide, the Germans and the French, they give bribes. The French is a tax deductible. It comes off the taxes for bribes. Now we're competing with these guys. So if you look, is this corruption? Now from their point of view it's not. But bribes, corruption, it is corruption, tends to corrupt both the bribe giver and the bribe taker. So it creeps in. So now we look at the state of the French government now. And we're back in a partial criticism at least. There's a path that they're on. Or how you get there. You wonder how you get there. Now these two got a couple of charts on how to grapple with the life. Why are you taking a stand and with individuals? Has an ideal called individuality. Does it seem as if you can't live with yourself if you don't take this stand? Have you examined your motivation for making a decision or taking this action? Is it really worth a matter of integrity, or is there an element of self-interest? There's always self-interest involved. Always. And do not mean always as a never, but there's a word always. Are you asked to do things by your boss or follow policies in line with organizational values that you find personally important? See, I don't think we in NASA see this, but I think it could be our real watch. We don't want to put up a position where our contractors are involved in something like this. Are you asked to do things by your boss? Have you attempted to articulate your feelings about this subject to senior leaders? Did you keep your mouth shut, or are you trying to change things? Have you looked for alternatives that might make your job more acceptable from a personal values perspective when you're charged? Do you feel your belief in the right or wrong? Do you do things that will evolve over time? You get creeps in there. Have certain experiences allowed you to adapt and adjust your attitude, or are you so dug in that nothing will move you to consider another definition of what's right? Dug in. Your conscience is already numb now because you have creeped in there. And you rationalize all your decisions. This is
awesome.
from organizational, legal, ethics,
This is really good.
or
I'm recording it.
Yeah, right. Everybody else is doing it, right?
I'm going to put it on YouTube.
You're rationalizing. Or
I'm
there's
recording it. I'm
situations
going to put it on
that you
YouTube.
act in ways
I
that
wish they would have got here earlier.
as the board might interpret it, it's still that you are doing something that goes against your position. Or are there risks that you take on this thing unusual? How do you want people to interpret this action? What is it you want to interpret this action? And this is a hard one. This is an incredible book. Another one of these books is, you guys been up in the 60s. He wrote the prophet. He's a Lebanese guy. He was a prophet, Khalil Gibran. And this is one of his thoughts. What does this mean? And he even defines his conduct by ethics. In prison, his songbird is caged. He thought, I thought it was something like that. We're going to come back to this guy. Only one person has looked at in the workplace and life and broke it down and said some things are evil. The wise, the foolish, and the evil, according to Henry Cloud and Necessary Enemies. In the wise, of course, each type must be very different. A wise man is cautious and turns away from evil. The fool is arrogant and careless. Solomon, 3,000 years ago, better leave your path to a dog than be bitten by him by contesting the right. Even killing a dog wouldn't cure the fight. Abraham Lincoln. But the foolish is, he puts the foolish is not what we normally would not think of as foolish. The foolish guys are not. They're not stupid. What they have rationalized and developed into an art. And these may be peers, these may be friends, this may be one of us. And this is probably all of us at different times. But not, there are people that created an art. When you have a subordinate or peer in the room with you to discuss a problem, your problem is never in the room. When that individual who's been delegated the task has failed to meet the task, I have submitted all these things. It's out for review. I've submitted checks. I have delegated that to some other people. The problem you can't deal with because they have delegated and rationalized it. You understand? And that don't just happen on this problem. It's going to be every single problem. Forever. That's the kind of people we're talking about. It's going to make sense. Because they have rationalized it in such a way that it will make sense. This is a foolish. They finally have evil. You don't see this often. But what's really hard is when we finally face the facts. Evil. Referring to evil. Referring to unhealthy conflict. If you hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, evil will not cease to exist. That's James Maxwell. A lot of you have read Maxwell. And then finally, according to Ecclesiastes, remember we just listened to the bird song, a time to love, a time to hate. When evil shows up, it's time to hate. And one of the few leaders we've got here, he's on the table. The CEO former CEO of Quaker State and Dial, Stoke Dial, the transparent leader fights evil. Now here is the trick. You remember the teachings of Jesus? The evil we talked about. You remember the sower going out sowing the good seeds and bad seeds? The way we are wired, the good and the evil and the foolish are in each one of us. That's what we're talking about. And Jesus did this. Well, he was not the first. Look what Plato is teaching us 500 years earlier. When one person who has within himself a pattern of unwise, counterfeiting counsel, whose name are pleasure and pain. Put in the law. And now Plato again. But just one thing is certain. These interior states, so to say, the cords or the strings by which we are worked, we are opposed to one another and pull us in opposite tensions, in the direction of opposite directions and actions. Therefore lies the division of virtue and vice is in each one of us. The question is, who shows up today and under what conditions do we react? Do we react wise, or we react foolish, or do we react in an evil way? Every single one of us have been all three at different point in time. How do we stay out of the evil box and foolish box? This guy, remember the prophet, he recognizes the same things. Look at this. You cannot separate the just from the unjust, the good from the wicked, for they stand together before the face of the sun, even as the black thread and the white thread are woven together. These things move within you as light and shadows and patterns that cling. Now, we get some advice from all the great religions on how to deal with this. But all them know, the organizations, the people that have come, the easiest to explain is the Native Americans. The Native Americans have a story.
Mm-hmm.
Set up.
They had it together.
The chief has his little nephew in front of us here. The nephew's in trouble. He's been getting into some mischief. And he's getting in the elder family. He's talking to the little boy. And he explains to the little boy, this thing logic. He says there are two wolves. There's two wolves in each one. One wolf represents all the people in the world, and the other wolf is all the good. Every morning they battle. And then the elder sits back and relaxes. And he doesn't say anything, it's all over. And the little boy, he sits and waits for more, but nothing has come. They finally ask, well, Grandma, who wins the battle? See, the little boy has to ask. The elder can't just give a speech. The little boy has to ask. And the answer is so simple. The answer is you want to eat.
That's true.
Now, in the conclusion of this section, we're going to go along. We have the exercise restraint for anger, hatred, greed, pride, and selfishness. And we have the cultivated virtue of love, compassion, patience, tolerance, and forgiveness. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do because we do this as we meet people. The way we work, the way our minds work, is that when we are angry, it comes, we want to whack somebody. Because that response from our basal ganglia and amygdala in the core, it's on the cycle. It's a path. It's a quicker response than the logic. It's about 0.6 of a second quicker. That's why you want to whack somebody. Then you think, what's a better response to this? I need to rethink that. All right? So, and if we look at how this happens, we're not going to read what Paul wrote about how to handle the law. Paul thinks on how to deal with the law. But what should we say? That the law is sin? You know, the law came from God. By no means. Even if it had not been for the law, I would not have even known sin. I would not have known what it is to covet if the law had not said, you shall not covet. But sin, through the opportunity in the commandment, produced in me all kinds of covetousness. Apart from the law, sin lies dead. But once alive, apart from the law, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. The very commandment that promised life proved to be the opportunity. For sin, seizing an opportunity in the commandment, deceived me and through it killed me. Paul was too smart. He memorized the entire Torah, but 6 and 17, he knows the whole Old Testament by memory. This is one smart dude. You have to read this stuff at time. I like to go Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu nails it down quick. If you need rules to be kind and just, this is a sure sign of virtue is absent. Same thing. Now, before we go like these studies, one hint of what might be ethical, what might be right. We can see in the animal kingdom. You remember those 3 poisons, hatred, greed, and delusion we get from Dalai Lama? You don't ever see those in the animal kingdom. For example, I'll go through a few examples here. In turkeys, the emotions that we often fear are for our use that they see. Turkeys, I hunt turkeys. I used to with my dad in Mississippi. They not defeated. You have to be there to see these things. One turkey. They never eat at the same time. One always has its head up. They can spot you if you blink your eye. One caution call, they all go the other way. Unbelievable. Now look what David Packard said about herding cattle. David Packard's eulogy when he died. David Packard, rancher, etc. Bill Hoover, David Packard started HP. They changed the world. He was an associate secretary of defense. His eulogy said, David Packard, rancher, etc. It says he looked up, well, this is a photo. I found that fine steady pressure from the rear were against his cattle. Eventually, one would decide to pass through the gate, the rest followed. press too hard, and they panic, scatter in all directions. Slack off the power, and they just hit that little old razor spot. That insight was useful throughout my mental career. Squirrels, we learn from squirrels. They spend all spring and summer preserving things for the winter. I don't think that the people, as a general, often, when we say we think about the future, I don't think we think about it enough. And then this last one, chickens. I was raised on a farm, and chickens is one of the most, now you don't dislike a chicken. You'll be belittling to yourself, dislike a chicken. But no one favors chickens. They're probably the dumbest thing on a farm. But what happens if a rider goes out? And riders like to go out to the country, nice, peaceful, and they always have a window so you look out and relax and look out and get creative riding. And they buy far enough. They have a dog, they have a few chickens out there, and a few other livestock. Well, this rider, right, he reflects in the movies with one story. He's got a few chickens. He looks up, all the chickens scatter quick. Just like those turkeys scatter. They go wham. He looks up, it's a hawk circle. All hawks are out for every kind of small matter. The chickens alert, they're gone. But then what happens? It's amazing. To me, it's amazing. Is that one hen came out of his cover, came out walking slowly across the field fast. When he got to the center of the open field, these little baby chickens all rushed toward him. The guy is the author is frozen, watching this thing develop. He looks up, what's the hawk doing? The hawk's already at terminal velocity of 120 miles an hour in the back. Hawk hits a chicken. The hen, the dumbest thing in the farm, saved its life for its little chicken. Now we actually get into the serious stuff. We can learn by watching. Look at the first one. Kenneth Lay. First we have one chart on the failures. The people that never could turn it on. They didn't even know. Kenneth Lay from Enron. No, I don't think he's a bad guy. He sets up metrics to maximize his profits. And what do people do? They react in a way that eventually crosses over borders. It has a massive failure. Look at Pete Rose. Pete Rose, you don't think he's doing anything wrong. You creep into these things. He was a baseball player. He was kicked out of the league, one of the best hitters ever. What did he do? He's betting big money on games. Why do they make rules against players betting? Of course, what happens, they don't just start immediately. The way professional betting is done, you bet on spreads. So the players bet, and they get in trouble, they lose. So now this is exactly what the professional gamblers like. Yeah, we don't want to lose if you're dead. But you don't have to throw the game. You just got to beat the spread. One fumble, one missed ball in basketball. And you don't lose the game, you just chop the spread down. Because the game is a 21-point spread. That's how best go, 21 points. You can still win by 18 points, 14 points, 19, 20 points. Beat the spread. The spread is as big as it was. What happens a year later? You've already done that several times. Next time you go to the game. That's how these things happen, a little bit at a time. We look at the, did you know the Unabomber was a Harvard graduate? Most of you guys graduated college. We are not exempt from these things. Martha Stewart, for insider trading. 100 years ago, guess what? Insider trading, nobody 100 years ago would have made an investment without a tip. That was the way investments used to be done. Then we decided that was unethical. And now Martha Stewart is spent time in jail. Jason, for Vlad, New York Times report, I don't believe he just immediately sit in his apartment and start writing false stories. What happens one time, he can't get verification. He needs double verification for stories. He can't get verification. I mean, his schedule, he's rationalized. So now he submits, well, there's no negative feedback. Well, 3 or 4 years later, guess what? He don't do anything. He just makes up stuff and makes up references. That's how you fall into these things. Just you creep into them. Now we're going to look at some case studies of people who look unlike this. Here's celebrities. So it's easy to be a celebrity. George Harrison, born dirt poor, in the Beatles, and he documented. When you think, all I need, if I had money and fame, that would be so incredible. See, we support Australia and the U.S. for the worst, a narcissist attitude. We reward personal favor, not personal favors, but getting in the limelight. Well, George Harrison found out this is not it. I'm not any happier. As a matter of fact, I am less happy than when I was living on the streets of London or when I was working in a nightclub 12 hours a day, 7 days a week in Germany. I am less happy. I listen to George Harrison coming over here in my car. It's incredible. Some of them make their songs here. Well, he spent his last part of his life in the mountains in the remote areas of Asia trying to find a better way. We never know for sure that George found his way to peace and contentment. This actress, she was an actress born from a Hollywood actresses and actors there. John Bolt was her father. And she was living an incredible self-destructive lifestyle. And she acknowledged she didn't expect to live even middle age. It was so self-destructive. She read the script. The scripture is the number one. She kind of followed her. What did she do? She went to the UN, the United Nations. She spent 1 year going with the UN to different countries that are in terrible hardships, and she learned some lessons. She became so much so that she was asked to be the goodwill ambassador at the UN. Today, this person has a changed life. This is not the same person. Today she had 2 kids. She's adopted 3 more in these places. She donates 1/3 of her income to charity. I hate to say this, but she is a better person for having lived part of her life in that self-destructive mode. Because you see the people that do, they can make returns. They make significant contributions for the rest of their life. She has found her way. Can we do that? See, we have had it too easy. Most of us, even I was born on a farm, on a small farm, but still, I never suffered. Remember when I talked about, you can't hurt my feelings, I don't have any? I never had to suffer. The Greeks looked at suffering as an opportunity to learn. If you had such trials somewhere in your life, and you learn and survive that, you are a better person for it. Now here's 3. Tony Dungy's first. He was an incredible coach. Baltimore. He couldn't get a coaching job, a head coaching job, because he had a different philosophy. His philosophy, and then no one believed it, because the kids that come out of college in basketball, the superstars, and the football players, they're spoiled rotten. Is there any doubt about that? So no one believed that those kind of kids could be managed with a soft hand. Tony Dungy said they can be. This organization, every person that comes into this organization, the goal is that they'll leave this organization a better human being than when they came in. Guess what? He was right, and they won. The winning is a byproduct of his goal. Now, compare that to the smaller picture of Vince Lombardi. He was the Green Bay Packers. Now, they won too. But the Green Bay coach, I think there's probably been times of racial changes in this country. And one of our reporters asked one of his black players, and he said, does he treat the players any different? The player was fine. He treats us all like different. But Vince Lombardi won too. Which one changed the world? Now, we go over here to, I didn't even know who Brad Stevens was. He taught at Butler. But I will never forget that. Butler was a game in college basketball. They played in the finals. A small school that played in the finals of NCAA. And do you know who Brad Stevens was? He was a modest basketball player. He got married, had a coat and tie job. He quit. I can't imagine his wife, when you were comparing her to my wife. I can't imagine what she was thinking. He quit his coat and tie job so he could volunteer at Butler on the games. Well, the game times when a normal job is happening. He is bussing tables at something like a Shoney's for a little bit of money. Can you imagine what his wife was thinking? So he could volunteer at Butler. Now, what you got there listening is this. When the Butler coach retires, kind of a surprise. The Butler coach said, I'm going to recommend Brad Stewart to be head coach. Different from college, look, humility, passion, unity, servitude, and thankfulness. That's a lot like Tony Dungy. Can you imagine coaching under those circumstances, here's what happened. I will never forget this. Which watching it on TV. When those kids, if they had won, it would have been different, but they lost. When you saw the Butler team come off the court, everybody has this incredible smile. You'll never know they lost the game. They have a higher purpose when they're playing the game than what's normally recognized in sports, look at the college level and the professional level. They understand a value that's greater than the score. Listen, and then finally, you guys are not from Florida. You guys from Florida. Tim Tebow has been around here for 4 years at the University of Florida. How can an 18-year-old have such values? And we that live here see the University of Florida players behave better than our typical college game. Tim Tebow don't spread his values and try to make anyone else follow his values. He just lives them. These are the leaders that we need to try to be like. But how does an 18-year-old do that? One of the guys he graduated with, wide receiver, they finished with at the same time. They met at the University of Alabama, 18 years old, on a recruiting trip. What does a wide receiver say? Just met this guy once. I'm going where he's going. Tim Tebow, the last year at the University of Florida, he lost the Heisman Trophy. If who'd done more to win the Heisman Trophy? He lost it to a running back at the University of Alabama. The guy from the University of Alabama said, man, he was an announcer. He won. I can't go on. I've lost all composure. I can't even talk or walk. What does Tim Tebow say? Now, Tim Tebow just lost to this guy. He says, let's go back in the room and find out what's failure. The guy from Alabama recovered himself and went up to. Do you think the guy from running back in Alabama is going to ever forget Tim Tebow? Tim Tebow went out to an award back in that morning, like standing on our house, and this girl came up. Now, you got to feel like a girl magnet. But this girl came up. She had a debilitating disease, a muscular degenerative disease. It's going to be worse. Every day of her life is going to be worse than the day before. She asked Tim Tebow what he would say. He signed it and invited her to be his escort to the back that night. He had, when you get into the pros, he has the big money. They make big money. So a guy like this signing on a high draft choice. But the big money is with the products, supporting products. I think Hanes Underwear or someone paid the big bucks. All the money from his supporting product goes to charity. Not a little, not 90%, all of it. Can we live like that? Can we set examples like this? I don't think most of us can. But maybe we won't try. Some of our presidents, at least Grover Cleveland, at this time of his death, and I believe this may be the very last thing that he said. On his deathbed, I tried so hard to do the right thing. Can we say that on our deathbed? And then Chester B. Arthur, our president under the same time, he changed his life around. There was a political machinery of corruption at the time. He got fired when President Hayes tried to reduce corruption. Chester B. Arthur was the head of the Port Authority in New York, the biggest source of revenue in the country. Back then, you got every president, the whole old civil service workforce changed out with every new election. Whoever got elected appointed everybody and appointed their colonies for friends. So, and then when you got appointed, you were expected to give a portion of your salary back to the political campaign. So President Arthur was fired by President Hayes for corruption. And then lo and behold, things changed. Now he finds himself as Vice President of the United States under Garfield. A few months, just a very few months into the presidency, President Garfield was shot in his head. President Grover Cleveland, Chester Arthur becomes president. All the cronies show up at his desk. Woman job. This is what happens. President Arthur. He denied every one. But President Arthur, there was the Pendleton Act. This was where civil servants had to start taking tests to qualify, to reduce and eliminate corruption. Sadly, President Arthur. There was a Rivers and Harbors Act that was nothing but pork barrel. He vetoed that. As a matter of fact, every single thing in his administration was done as good as possible. In New York, news writers said, nobody could believe what they see. He said, there's no one ever come into the president of the United States left more or trusted less than President Arthur. And then he said, no one has ever left more genuine respect. What happened? Mark Twain never said a good thing about a politician. You might have read that, but he said one good thing about the world. He said it'd be hard to live with President Obama's regime, administration. What happened? President Obama got to be president. They gave him a better physical. In his physical, they discovered a disease called Bright's disease. He's going to have to kill him today. He's going to live the rest of his. They believe he'll live the rest of his administration, but they're not sure. I think President Arthur lived the rest of his administration with a new purpose in life. See, it's a shame that so many of us have to be faced with the inevitable of a death call before we make that change. But President Arthur made that change. Do we have to wait for these kind of significant life-changing moments to make the changes that we need to know we can make to begin with? I can't imagine two better examples. And now the last one, Reggie White. Reggie White played football at the University of Tennessee. And he, I can't be able to remember some seemingly insignificant. What Reggie White lived his life. I remember thinking, after I thought, what I saw was that the NFL, the National Football League, seemed to be better behaved than the National Professional Baseball League, and a whole lot better than the basketball league. I wondered if one person would make a difference. Then I can remember that. But then Reggie White died early. He had a condition, I don't want to say a disease, but some of us have that. It's a sleeping disorder. And you get diagnosed with it, you get the machine, when you sleep at night. And he and his wife, Sarah, were on a trip, got his machine. 44 years old, he died. He wake up. And, they lived a long while when we tell the story. But, I'm not losing for this, but this Sarah is on the TV on Spooky Channel, and there she was telling about all the people that came up to have her condolences. Now, the guy on our right here is Steve Young. Reggie White retired after 11 Pro Bowls, which is the best of the best. And he still has the record in the National Football League for sacks. That means you tackle the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage. Steve Young is the guy that's going to be always, he's a quarterback that passes. He is always worried about Reggie White when they play. He is scared of Reggie White when they play. But when Steve Young tried to convey his condolences to his wife, his little Sarah, all he did was make up the cry. Try it again. I got to wonder. I don't remember them playing the same team. I went back and looked up the record. In the is easy to find. And they never played with the same team. Are we living a life where people in the hall will miss us in any way beyond our immediate family when we have? Reggie White lived that kind of life. Here's what we have to look at. At the end, there's one thing you can't say. Well, when you lay on your deathbed, you don't say, I sure. Paul says, I thought I just thought. And I understand.
Chapter right, just the other day, you came to the world in the usual way. There were plans to catch, bills to pay. The younger walked while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it. And as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the cats in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy, little man alone. When we come home, Daddy, don't go in. We'll get together there. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He said, thanks for the ball that the Lord lets play. Can you do it before? I said, not today. I got a lot to do. He said, that's okay. And then he walked away, but he smiled at me and said, I'm gonna be like him. Yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy, little man alone. When you come home, Daddy, don't go in. We'll get together. just like me. My boy was just like me. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon. Little boy blue, man alone. When you coming home, son, I don't know when. But we'll get together then. And we'll probably have a good time there.
On behalf of Ronnie, because I've worked with him for several years, he is what you see. And I've known that for many years. And he's a good friend. I encourage you, if you have any questions, you have an email you want to send him, please do that. He is really